Welcome, welcome, friends. Yes, let us put a little light on the subject. We've got a rainy and cold day here in the heartland. And our hearts like to be warm and cozy, don't they? We'll be doing some work with the heart today as we prepare for our Easter festival. Yeah, so we're gonna explore. Let's give a little picture of this, the Holy Week. You know, we can see how things shift from when we are from the Holy Nights, right, where we were working with the 12 to when we're working with the 7. So we're going to get into that, and we're going to really just create a container in our hearts to receive all of this beautiful, all of these insights, and try to explore this mystery a little bit. And then I really want to ask everybody to give a little feedback. I'd like to really, have people be open and honest, like how has these, our time together been? What's been living in you, and, what's working from what we're doing, and, what do you want to see more of? Maybe something you want to see less of. How can we make the course exactly what you want it to be? How can we make it better? So we'll be checking in with you about that as well. So yeah, so when we're working with spiritual science, we really come upon, I mean, actually, you could really call them highly occult terms, like the turning point of time, the mystery of Golgotha, the Christ, which, those of us who are striving to understand, these are the esoteric core of anthroposophy. And yet, for all the truths within the range of the human mind, it can be the most difficult of all the mysteries to understand. And it's most easily misunderstood. And this is because the mystery of Golgotha was a unique event in the whole evolution of the earth and of the cosmos. So yeah, the human mind is always looking for, a standard of comparison, right? And that's really difficult in this case because there is nothing to compare to this deed. It's, so that makes it really hard to comprehend. So yeah, but it is vital that we continue to strive to understand this momentous event in the evolution of humanity, really enlivening this impulse in our lives and in our time, knowing that it continues to grow and evolve just as we do. And I have to say that when I was growing up, I could never really understand when folks said things like, Jesus died for our sins, or Christ died that we may live. And actually, I'm not sure that the people who said these things actually knew what they meant either. In my young mind, I was like, well, how could somebody dying a horrible death 2,000 years ago have any practical effect on our lives today? And how did that death redeem my sins or help me to live? So I was asking questions, and I knew that there was a mystery here, and I did not receive any explanation that made sense to me when I was growing up. So yeah, as I got older, this question stayed with me, and I began to explore many esoteric teachings. And I admit it was hard for me not to feel an antipathy toward the dogma of the Roman Catholic Church in particular. So as a young woman, I lived into my Catholic or my Celtic and Italian heritage with its really empowering archetypes of the divine feminine, the seasonal ritual, and my natural ability to work with the elemental beings. But when I discovered Rudolf Steiner while studying philosophy in college, I knew that I had found my true home, my calling, my way in to truly understand the Christ impulse. Yeah, we can learn a lot from our progression of our biographies. And looking at the biography of Rudolf Steiner, from his early youth, he had a complete clairvoyance. It came with him as an initiate from his past lives, so that the spiritual worlds were open to him as the material world is to us. And having developed, as he got older, this power of ethically exploring higher worlds, he worked with his spiritual investigations and was able, as we know, to research back to the dim past of human and planetary evolution. And in doing that work, to his astonishment, because he didn't grow up with any kind of religion, really. To his astonishment, he discovered that the descent of the Christ, the solar logos of the Holy Trinity, the principle of love, this descent of this cosmic being into physical existence, was the absolute central event of evolution, what he often called the turning point of time. So Steiner writes about this Christ revelation that he had. He wrote about it in his autobiography. And he says, I stood before the mystery of Golgotha in a most profound inner festival of knowledge. So he entered a kind of Pentecost moment, becoming illuminated by the Holy Spirit to receive the wisdom of Christ, which gave him a profound understanding of this mystery. And then, as we talked about with his biography, from the early 1900s onwards, Steiner's entire teaching really held this esoteric Christianity, even when he never mentioned the name Christ. Because of an occult law, he was then able to share this after Marie von Sievers, brought him that question. So from then on, really, he's bringing those insights to us. And Steiner speaks about Easter as a spiritual event that takes place on the stage of humanity. I just love that image. And the physical body of Jesus of Nazareth was the mediator through which the powers of the cosmos were united with the earth aura. So with the sacrifice on Golgotha, when the life blood of the cosmic heart penetrated the earth and its forces flowed down even to the very core, the earth became illuminated from within. The seed is there, it's starting to grow. And I love what Christian community priest Emil Bach says. He gives this picture that the resurrection actually took place first at the gates of the underworld for the souls of the dead who had lost their divine nature. And of course, then with the dawn, we have this dawn that happens on Easter Sunday. And the opportunity was then given to every single human being to experience this light within the self. And that seed, the seed that was planted, can be the seed of the reunion of sun and earth. So the mystery of Golgotha is the pivotal event of the whole divine process of creation, of the whole process of human evolution, from its beginnings in the womb of the spirit to its consummation in humanity as the 10th hierarchy. So as we've seen through our work together, the festivals are each year spiritual, cosmic, and earthly events, carrying a significance that grows and deepens with the developing phases of human evolution, ever evolving as we do. And this is especially true of the Easter festival, with its answer to humanity's deepest needs, its quickening of our highest hopes, right, with its message of victory, of good over evil, of light over darkness, of life over death. We need that message now, don't we? And again, from all points of view, Rudolf Steiner spoke about the deep meaning of the Easter festival in the eternal working of the divine worlds upon humankind. So we see it, I'm always loving to talk about the prefiguring myths and the symbols of the ancient mystery schools in relation to the world of nature and the cosmic universe, in which the date of this movable feast contains a unique mystery, right? For it's determined by a cosmic alignment. And we talked about that when we spoke last time, right? Because as we know, first the sun must enter into the sign of spring, right? The vernal equinox, which occurred on Sunday, March 20th this year. And then it waits. The sun waits for the moon to come into her vernal fullness. And then the planetary beings whose names correspond with the days of the week come into play. Well, we forgot to do the calendar of the soul. Oh, well, we'll do that later. But let's dig into this Holy Week. So I made this little chart here. So it has the events in the life of Christ. It gives like a little picture of this eightfold path and the rhythms of the foundation stone. So this might be something that you want to work with yourself during the Holy Week. And of course, it begins with Palm Sunday, which is the old sun, Christ's triumphant entry into Jerusalem, right? The ancient prophecy fulfilled. And then on Holy Monday, we have this image, the symbol of the fig tree, right? It's the symbol of the old clairvoyance. And so that, it has to wither, it's cursed because the moon forces must be renewed. And this leads to the cleansing of the temple and Holy Tuesday. And this idea that Christ is bending the Mars spirit to his purposes to address the conflict with his opponents. And then in the evening, I love he gives those farewell discourses, right? This apocalyptic future is revealed. So much. Yeah, Holy Wednesday, we get the two sides of Mercury, the healer and the thief, right? Mary Magdalene's pre-burial anointing as the healer, and Judas, his betrayal, thief. And Maundy Thursday, where the first shall become the last, right? Christ washes the feet of the disciples and administers to them the new sacrament through the Last Supper. On Good Friday, we see the transformation of the Venus principle, love's sacrificial death. And this image of the rending of the temple veil. And Holy Saturday, Christ laid in the tomb is taken by the quake into the grave of the earth. This is the harrowing of hell. And that this Saturnian darkness becomes the Easter light, right? Healing the realm of the dead. And that brings us to the new sun, Easter Sunday. This is the octave of the resurrection. Mary Magdalene meets the angels and sees the gardener, right? The risen one in his spirit body. So yeah, at Eastertide, we are being invited to connect to the solar forces so that when the first Sunday after the full moon of spring arrives, it's time to celebrate the Easter festival. This is a cosmic calling to humanity, to lift ourselves up to the worlds beyond the earth, right? Where the earth is being redeemed, but we have to look once again and speak with the stars. It contains a promise that in the course of world history, it will be possible through the working of the Christ impulse for humanity to once again be united with the cosmos, with the earth becoming the new Jerusalem, the new sun. It is for this that we strive when we celebrate the Easter fest. And these resurrection forces, they must be looked for in all of human history, in the arts, in human thinking, in all social relationships, and even in the materialistic entanglements of modern science. The Christ impulse illuminates every race, creed, nation, and there is nothing dogmatic or sectarian about it, right? Truth and love are there for every human being, atheist or believer. So those who like to look into the etymology of things, this cosmic or esoteric Christianity tells us not only that the name Christ comes from the Greek Christos, which means anointed one or Messiah, but it also refers to an exalted being of the spiritual sun, where the forces of warmth and love are ever present. So this love aspect of the Holy Trinity descended out of the cosmos to be born on earth. And that is what we contemplate during the holy nights of Christmas, right? So we see how these two festivals are joined, birth and death. We see how this descent involves all of the 12 constellations. So we have that number 12. And then through Holy Week, we have the 7, right? So this mystery of the 12 and the 7. And the whole period before the mystery of Golgotha was basically a preparation in our evolution. Christ's deed imparted to the earth its meaning and purpose. What spiritual science is conveying here is that when Christ died, he took on a huge part of the karma of humanity, which, if it hadn't been redeemed in this way, would have led us into even more darkness and materiality than we have now, believe it or not. Instead, Christ's deed began the slow but sure upward ascent, right? We got that picture, this now we're on the upward swing, we're this ascent away from matter toward the spirit again. And yeah, we are where we are, right? It's all too evident that this materialism still has a long course to run, but we can look forward and participate in our upward path to spirit. The wisdom or Sophia of Christ gives us the understanding of this spiritual impulse, which only began to be revealed after the resurrection, after the ascension, at the Pentecost event. So we see that Eastertide is a threefold festival, 40 and then 50 days after the resurrection. So yeah, so today we're on the eve of the Annunciation to Mary of the Christ child, right? The sun God that she was going to give birth to. And so I'm here to remind you that it is not the Christ that we lack. This cosmic being has become the meaning of the earth. It is the wisdom of Christ, the Sophia of Christ we lack. And so anthroposophy is here to bring this wisdom into our humanness. And also, Christ is not to be sought for in the past. The tomb is empty. He is risen, right? His sphere is not beyond, it's here. in this world in which we live, as well as in the etheric realm that surrounds us in the periphery. The Christ is to be found not only in the we, when two or more are gathered, the essence must live in each of our hearts. Each of our hearts as Christ in me. And through our willing, into our deeds, working to spiritualize the earth, bringing it also into the spiritual world through our thinking. So every year during the Eastertide, the breathing soul sphere of the whole planet rejoices. Right? Can you feel that starting to happen? This, along with that renewed cosmic sphere of the sunlit clouds, right? The air, the wind, even the rain, which, the earth needs in the spring. And then the inward life of the human being, touched by the risen Christ, rejoices too. We recognize the wide span of our hearts, the wide span of our souls at Easter, ready to be resurrected. So I think that's a lot. So I'm going to close with this quote from the Easter Festival in its relation to the mysteries by Rudolf Steiner, where he says, anthroposophy itself must become like an inner festival of resurrection for the human soul. Anthroposophy itself must become like an inner festival of resurrection for the human soul. It must bring an Easter mood into the human being's world conception. Can we bring an Easter mood into the world, into our worldview, into our every thought, word, and deed? Yeah, that's our work. Thank you, friends. So I'm looking here. There's a question. Okay. Sandra has some pieces of art she wants to share. You want to do that now before we do the craft?
Sure, if
Great.
that's okay.
Yeah.
I just I went through my own little transition once upon a time, and was carrying this question of Good Friday and why was it good, and what was good about it, and I got a spiritual response to that, which was phenomenal, about the mystery of Golgotha. And then I came across this picture, or this sculpture, which I don't know if you can see it very well. It's a picture of Christ on the cross, but it's offering a dove, the dove of the Holy Spirit, with the right hand, that his physical being had to leave in order for the disciples to find him again in the spirit. So that was one little piece of Good Friday. And then later I came across, there was a Polish nun who was having super sensible experiences, and she experienced in 1933, I think, the offering of Christ in the etheric, and she had this vision, which has the streams of light coming from the heart, red and blue, and she died shortly after this, but she was very young, and that just seemed to me a real picture of the etheric Christ offering to the world. And so I just wanted to share those. She's a Polish nun. She was canonized by John Paul II, and her feast day is the octave of Easter. It's the following Sunday for and she talked about the body, soul, and divinity of Christ. Body, soul, and divinity, spirit. It was a threefold vision that she had. And it was suppressed for a long time because it was threefold and not just body, soul, and divinity. So I thought, well, that's a breakthrough.
What a blessing. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Yeah.
It's really perfect for what Nancy's got to bring us right now. Perfect. I love how everything comes together. Thank you.
I do too. I do too. So grab your paper. You'll need one sheet of paper and a pair of scissors. I love Hazel's lead in about the heart and the tie-in of that art. You know, what lives in our hearts, and that Christ lives in our hearts when two or more are gathered. So today we're going to make a heart with a cutting of paper, and it will be the joining of two into one to make a vessel for love, because that's our New Testament obligation, yeah, to work in the realm of love and in the realm of the heart. So holding your paper so that it's vertical, we're going to fold it in half once. Yeah. Yeah. So it's long and skinny at this point. And we have our essentially two people. Let's call it two people. Then we're going to touch our toes to our head. So if you to continue the people analogy, and make a fold at the bottom.
It's easier said than done, for the record.
Yes, absolutely. These are figurative. I find sometimes it's nice to say, scratch your nose with your, it's a directive that rings a little bit with some humor, I hope. Now, leaving the fold at the bottom and the open part at the top, or the head, we're going to just cut off this fold and this fold a little bit. We need to narrow this. So you'll need your scissors, and we need to narrow it. Oh, I'm narrowing it by a ½ inch maybe. And I'm going to come all the way up to the top and round the top. This is the beginning of the part of the heart that we'll come to recognize. And come on down and take a little bit off the sides, just like a good haircut, a little bit off the sides. So we wind up with, you can take them apart, two pieces. So from our fold at the bottom, remove about a ½ inch, ¼ inch off the side, come all the way up, keep the height as tall as possible, shave it down the side and take a little bit off that side. So we no longer have the spine fold, we just have a bottom fold. And we have two. So they can be like two people, let's call them. One of them is us and one of them is another, a friend. And if we hold our pieces like this, there's our heart. That's where we're going to. But how do they come together? This is the fun part. So holding them back in this relationship, so they're right on top of each other, we can make two cuts to produce three sections. So we're going kind of Trinitarian here. And so you're dividing this bottom in roughly in thirds. So each of these is a little more than an inch. And I'm going to go rather high up to the top because that gives us a lot of room to move with. But don't take it away. If you do, that's what tape is for. You want that connection at the very top. And now we have actually two pieces that have a fold at the bottom. Good. If you have trouble, let me know and I'll stop and go through it again. But I think I see everybody seems to be okay. Again, if you put it like this, there's the beginning of our heart. But how do they weave together? Well, this is the profound and amazing thing about this particular shape. If we were to simply go in and out like this, you would have like a placemat, yeah, flat and strong, but not something that would open up. You see, it can't open. Yeah, it's stuck. So we're going to do something a little bit different. We're going to start with this top one. Here's the curve up. We're going to start with this top one. You could start either one. But in order to weave through, think of it this way. You know, actually, I colored one just for my purposes, for you, to help you. So this is me, and this is my other. If I want the other to show, I need to pass through the other. Because then the other has opened itself to me and I pass through. Does that make sense? Now, in weaving, I want to show here, it's white, it's blue, but in order to make it work, I have to open myself to the other. So I'm going to open this up. It's a little, it makes, there is a place there. Yeah. And
I lost you.
okay, it's okay. I'm just gonna, yeah, this opens up and goes, dives through. I pass through. The other has opened themselves to me and I pass through. Yeah, Sandra?
I don't know.
Yeah, okay. You've got one there, good. Now this middle one needs to pass through
Nancy,
that one. Yeah,
so we saw that you passed through the middle, but what happens here?
good question. So who
Who
wants
is
to
it?
show? This one wants to show. So this has to open. If I want to show, I have to open myself to the other. Yeah, there. There. And if you go like this, you'll find they actually create a volume inside.
I don't know.
It's a little, yeah. Okay, fold it back up so that the fold is at the bottom. Yeah. Take the, I'll do it again. Your folds are down here. Yeah. Here's the top one. Okay. Open in your right hand. Open the one in your right hand and pass through it. Yeah. Come to the front where you can see this. Now, I want this one to disappear. So this, the one that's in front, has to open itself. You see that?
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Once you get it, it's not so mysterious. Yeah, okay. And then, yeah. Now what do we do with this? Well, I want my blue to disappear. So my other one has to open itself and let the blue pass through.
Sorry.
So I now have something that looks woven, white, blue, white. I'll show you what continues. To continue, what color do I want here? I want my blue. If it helps to color one of yours, take a moment and rub some crayon on it or something. This is not easy, I suppose. I want the blue to show here, yeah? So the blue opens itself up to the other and allows it to pass through.
Ah,
I want the white to show in the middle, the very middle. Yeah, get some color on yours. That will help a little bit. Yeah. This only works if you figure out how to open these and pass through. There, I've got two woven. And will open. You should have plenty of room to move it. Yeah. Okay, if you just went over and under, this will not open. Yeah. Sandra, I can't hear you.
Yeah, I just went over and under, and that's what
Yeah,
I'm.
okay, but it won't open because if we go over and under each other, it makes a nice strong mat, but we don't create this space inside. So come back, open them up. Yeah, pull them back out again. Try one more time. I'll walk you through it.
Okay.
You see how these, try sticking your finger through like that. That's what the other piece of paper needs to do. Needs to go through that way.
On the bottom or the top?
You can put it on the bottom, it'll slide all the way to the top. Don't worry about it. So you want to take one of these guys, just take one of them and pass it through.
I don't quite get it. In the middle, over the top, and back into the middle?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so then it looks like this. But that's kind of the beginning of what I did before.
So, right. So this side here is in the middle, but now they have to flip. They have to flip. The one who opened to the other has to now go through, pass through, and the other has to open. So you're alternating. One opens and passes the other through. Then the other opens and passes the other through.
Yeah, well, anyway.
It's okay. You know what I'm going to do? I'll put this, it's from this book. It's actually a very traditional folded paper shape from Sweden. And I'll put it up on the Padlet, and you can suffer through it a little more at another time if you choose. But if you can make it work, here I have, I'm going to go back to my blue because it may be easier for you to see. So I have a lot of space to move in. That's one thing that helps. I made these deep cuts all the way to the top. So I move up here because that way I've got a lot of space here. Yeah, and these can open. Now I see blue, which means that my blue piece, if it comes like this, it's not right. It has to go, it has to disappear. The other has to open for me to pass through. We're working together by opening to each other. Okay, then who wants to show now? This one. But just going behind doesn't work. I have to go through. Okay. And I want the white, but just going behind doesn't work. I want to go through. And I disappear in the process of going through the other. Let's see. Oh, I missed one. I got it wrong. You can turn it around however you need to manipulate it. But you wind up with a woven piece, light, dark, or over, under, but the pieces are going through each other. And then you can wiggle it so that they become a heart. And if you've got it right, you will have a vessel, a chalice that will open. It's very fiddly. I'm so sorry to have brought something so challenging at the end, but it's a good challenge. And I myself had to do it 4 times last night to remember the passing through cue, which seems to make all the difference. And I'm reminded of this shape, this vessel, this chalice shape. Rudolf Steiner in the fifth gospel talks, he quotes from Kepler, Johannes Kepler, who the founder of modern astrology, modern astronomy. And Kepler says, in a sphere, and this isn't a sphere, but it's a container, and then also in the sphere that we made last week, in a sphere, you have this Trinitarian aspect. The center is God, yeah? Center where we come together is God. The exterior of a sphere is the Christ. And everything inside, between the center point and the outside periphery, is the Spirit. So what lives in our hearts? The Spirit, when we come together. And I'm so sorry to have brought you something that's defeating, but enjoy the challenge and fiddle with it a little bit more. And
can you hold the book up and I'll take a screenshot of it?
Yes. It's
all year round.
All year round. It's a
that didn't come out.
Lovely book of things to do with children that go through the seasons. I can do this.
I have to do it again because I didn't have you on the big screen.
Sure.
And the author is?
Oh, it's several women.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
I love that book.
This is an old copy from Hawthorne Press.
Okay.
It's still in print, but I think it'll have a slightly different cover.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a great book.
Oh, it was my mainstay when I taught. Everything from kindergarten to 12th grade, you can find great things in here.
Yeah.
Maybe by May I'll be better at these things, Nancy.
Well, this is a good puzzle if you enjoy puzzles. Anyone else has a struggle I can help them with, or should we go on to our discussion? Lark, you're muted. I can't hear you. Thank you.
I also got stuck. I went in and out, but I don't have any.
Right. Yeah. If you weave like a mat, it will be like a placemat. Oh, you've got one of them working.
Yeah, I mean, one is, but
one is perfect. So then if it helps to sort of